Hello Virgo, welcome to my channel and welcome to your December 2023 Tarotscope. It is such a blessing to be here with you, so thank you for joining me. In the description box below, you will find links to information on personal readings, the Soul Good membership channel on Telegram, and information on donations if you would like to explore any of those options. However, no pressure. You will also find a timestamp in the description box below if you would like to jump to the start of your reading. Please do use your discernment and keep in mind that this is a collective reading, not a personal reading. So take only what resonates with you and leave the rest. You may also want to check out your Sun, Moon, and Rising Tarotscopes if you are aware of what those signs are for deeper insights to your month. December is a universal 1 month, and this means that as we're closing out one cycle with 2023, we are simultaneously beginning another. This happens about every 9 years and does invite us to get a head start or a leg up, if you will, on what might unfold as we move forward. The number 1 resonates with the energies and attributes of new beginnings, instinct and intuition, creation, inspiration, uniqueness, action, motivation, self-leadership and self-empowerment, positivity, and creating our own realities. This is what we're going to be looking at during this Tarotscope, getting your overall energy for the month, what wants to be created through you or for you, and this does not have to be physical. We're also going to be looking at what challenges this might present and getting some advice to best support and serve you moving forward. So Virgo, without any further ado, let's take a look at what's coming through for you for this month. Please, Father, Mother, Life, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, tell us about the overall energy of December 2023 for Virgo. Tell us about the overall energy of December 20. Okay, thank you. Tell us, please, what wants to be created through or for Virgo. Okay. Tell us, please, what challenges might this present? Thank you. And what advice will best support and serve Virgo, please? What advice will best... Okay, thank you. What else do we need to know about the overall energy of December 2023? Thank you. What else do we need to know, please, about what wants to be created through or for Virgo? Okay. Oh, thank you. Tell us more, please. What challenges might this present for Virgo? Tell us more, please. Okay, thank you. Tell us more, please. What advice will best support? Okay. And anything else we need to know or may have missed, please, about the overall energy of December 2023 for Virgo? Thank you. Anything else we need to know or may have missed, please? Thank you. Anything else we need to know or may have missed, please, about the challenges that this might present for Virgo? Anything else we need to know or may have missed, please, about what challenges this might present for Virgo? Okay, thank you. And anything else we need to... Okay. All right, Virgo, the overall energy for December 2023 for you is we're starting out with Priestess. How are you being called to step up and lead? I feel as though there's something here, Virgo. This feels like there's something that you probably know intuitively that you are being called to. How do I say it? There's this element of like taking your power back. Um, it's interesting because with other signs, I've gotten this message with this card of essentially like taking the lead role in your own life. But with this card for you, it feels like there's something in your life that may have some kind of power over you. Okay. I'm not sure what this might be. Certainly, it could be different for everyone. This is a collective reading, right? So it could be a multitude of things. But I think overall, what's coming through here is this energy of something having power over you. There's something going on in your experience that is kind of calling the shots. And this, I feel like this has something to do with some kind of programming or trauma or belief system or something. I feel like it's really kind of how do I say? To some degree or another, it feels like it's really driving something in your life. And I feel like you're meant to understand or discover what this is and to take your power back from it, to kind of like get ahead of it or release it, heal it, right? To free yourself from it. But again, I feel like there are those of you listening who already know what this is. I feel like your intuition is already speaking to you about it in some way, shape, or form. Of course, that's going to, how do I say, it's going to depend on whether or not you are someone who is in touch with your intuition. If you're someone who is listening for it and paying attention, but I feel as though, again, there's something that you are being called to take back your power from. Okay. And it's interesting because if you look at the card here, she has this light here at like her gut area, which is, again, I feel speaking to that intuitive something, right? I feel like there's something here where you are, to some degree or another, already aware of what this may be. We do have take a break, a life's work, not a season, get off the treadmill. And I feel like that, again, it feels like this is something that has control over your life in some way, shape, or form. And I do feel like it's repeating, or it's cyclic, or it has been brought up, or you've experienced it for either long periods of time, like almost like, I want to say, for some of you it might be like consistent. For others of you, I feel like it shows up and then maybe it kind of dies out a little bit and then shows up. And I feel that the energy is asking you to step out of that loop, to step out of that cycle, to free yourself from it. Because whatever this is, it feels like perhaps you got into this cycle and you were meant to like learn something from it, but somewhere along the way it feels like you got stuck, or maybe you just kind of sunk into it. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily something that we might label as like negative or bad, though that's certainly possible with trauma, wounding, programming, the things. But I feel as though there's some kind of bigger picture that you are meant to be getting, or were meant to get, a lesson you were meant to learn and then move on from, and allow that lesson to influence you as you move forward. So with this energy, again, I feel like this is speaking to breaking free from that. I also feel that for some of you, or maybe for someone specific, there is this call to tune into your intuition and your more spiritual side more, perhaps, than what you do currently. It feels like, which I understand, Virgo, with you being an earth sign, it makes a lot of sense. But I feel like for some of you, there's this more practical approach to things, and you're being asked to kind of step out of that a little bit. For some of you, maybe this has something to do with work, considering that we have priestess, which for me is very much speaking to a more spiritual aspect, and this a life's work, not a season, feels, for whatever reason, more physical, more worldly or earthly, more practical. So, for some of you, maybe what has that power is your work. Or, the Virgos that I've known throughout my experience are usually very kind of like they have an incredibly high work ethic, which is, I'm not saying is a bad thing, okay? But I feel like there are also Virgos that I know who kind of take this to the extreme, where they don't really know how to be still, or they don't really know how to slow down, right? So take that as it resonates with you. We do have, yeah, the Five of Swords here. So again, like I was saying, for some of you, this may be about maybe like the ambitions that you have in regards to work, right? It feels like there's this, I want to keep going. Um, it's so there's two different sides of this. Both are very interesting. The one is, this ambition to like no, what is the what is the phrase I'm looking for? It's like you have no chill, right? I feel like there's that ambition that's just this driving force. And so, I feel like there's that, like, I can keep going, or I can obtain more or do more or be, I don't know how to explain it. It just feels like trying to get to the top of whatever, um, and that being kind of a driving force. For others of you, I feel like there is this energy, and this is kind of strange for me to pick up on with this card, but I feel like for some, this Five of Swords energy is whatever this thing that may have power over you. It feels like it's sneaky, right? It feels like it's almost like it's kind of hard to break free from because it's sneaky, and this may have something to do with a more literal or earthly approach to things, or a more maybe logical even approach, where maybe it's not seen as something that has so much power, or maybe that's something that kind of flows from your mind from time to time, you don't think about as much, or it's almost like the words I'm getting are like it has its hooks in you, right? So it's almost like this, whatever this thing is, may be difficult to break free from. I hope that makes sense. But it's interesting because the Five of Swords does have this kind of like self-interested kind of energy, right? And so that may be a perspective of wherever this is coming from, or whatever this may be to you. Yeah, it's interesting. We do have the Six of Wands here. So this can be an energy of, let's say, like public success, or public recognition, or public reward. So it's fascinating because, again, I feel like some of you, this is coming from a place of like working very hard to obtain some kind of status or some kind of success or something, right? It's really quite fascinating to me, actually. How do I say this? For others, I feel like it's really fascinating because this is like two sides of a coin, um, both kind of being different from the other. Again, because with one, with the Five of Swords here and the Six of Wands, I'm getting this, wanting that recognition, wanting to succeed, wanting to gain success and to triumph over things. Like I said, to kind of gain a certain status or some kind of gain, right? For others of you, I feel like there's this energy of not knowing how to break free from this. And I don't know exactly what this could be for, each of you individually, but and now this is pure intuition, but that Five of Swords energy, if you look at the card there, that person on the front looks very kind of overwhelmed. And there are times that I see this as this crow here or this raven or whatever it is, kind of being almost like that, those lower egoic drives, which are like on this man's shoulder here, whispering in his ear, and it creating this conflict. Okay. And with the Six of Wands, there's almost this feeling of, how do I triumph over this? How do I find success over whatever this thing is that's cyclic? Which is, it's a very interesting perspective to have, I feel, with how these cards are coming up. I feel like, again, there's more of that call to get more in touch with your intuition, to maybe not take such a logical or earthly approach or perspective on whatever this may be for you. And I do feel like, though it may not happen like tomorrow, it may take quite some time. I feel as though if you were to tune into your own intuition and to allow that to be your guiding force instead, I feel like you could find a means to get off that treadmill, to essentially, successfully leave that behind. We have here Stargate heart chakra opening, unlocking, and generosity. So it's, you guys, I think this is really fascinating. And again, only you will know if this is for you. Okay, so please, please use your discernment and your intuition. So that heart chakra, when it is open or flowing or balanced, it's very loving and peaceful and compassionate. It is, how do I say? It governs our relationships, love, and self-love. And again, so when this is, let's say, imbalanced or blocked, then that can be a more depressive energy. It can be difficulty in relationships, lack of self-discipline. It can be codependent, unloving, or jealous even. And for some of you, I feel like whatever this is that may have power over you can come from a place of, it's almost seeking comfort or validation or something outside of self. This feels more about that self-love than anything else. Certainly that can roll over, if you will, into what you experience in relationships. But I feel like there's something here about loving self. It's almost like, for example, if you're somebody who feels like you need to reach some status, right? Some level of success, I feel like there's the need to do that, or the drive to do that, because it's like, I need to find something that makes me worthy or valuable, right? Instead of cultivating that within your own being, it's like, I've got to go out and get that. I've got to go out and achieve that. For others of you, if there's something that, let's say, has power over you, which, here's the thing, I've talked about lower egoic drives. We've There's this energy of codependency and depression and things with a blocked heart chakra, and also lack of self-discipline. And I feel like for some of you, this could have something to do with some kind of habit or pattern or behavior that is trying to fill that within you, right? It's seeking that love, or how do I say, filling that hole with something else. Okay. So I feel that the energies this month is meant to open yourself up for you to develop that love within yourself. I hope that makes sense. And I just want to share with you, Virgo, that a lot of the Tarotscopes that I've done thus far have been in many ways very in alignment with this kind of message, right? Like, these are the things that maybe you could be doing, or this is the energy that's presenting in order to um, get us out of old ways of being and put us more in alignment with what is true within us, right? Again, that one energy is one of self leadership, self empowerment, positivity, right? Intuition. It is also an energy of, like, think the magician and the tarot, where it's focusing your willpower and your desires and all of the elements, right? Activating the magic within you to shape your reality. Okay. And to step into our own personal power, not the power that we gain from something outside of ourselves. I hope that makes sense. So, what wants to be created through you or for you, Virgo? We do have the Age of Light. You've been training for this for lifetimes. Again, I feel like there's this element with this card of that light within you is what wants to be cultivated. It's what wants to be tapped into. Again, I got that energy of, like, tapping into your intuition or the more spiritual aspect of yourself. And I feel this is what wants to come out. This is what wants to be created. One where you are tapping into your soul's wisdom, your soul's truth, your soul's light, and bringing that through you. Okay? I feel like there are things, there's potential here within you that has not yet been tapped into. And once it is, I feel like you could potentially open the doors to, new skills, new talents, new perspectives, new meanings, new ways of being, new belief systems. But I feel like it's kind of dormant in there, right? Because I feel like there's this deeper focus, if you will, as I was saying, on the more worldly or earthly or physical or practical things, right? There's this neglect to some degree or another of the spiritual side, right? This is very interesting to me because, again, like, we have this Age of Light, and if you look here, like, her heart space, or this being's heart space, is lit up. It's very bright. And then we have this Stargate heart, right? And I feel as though it's really speaking to the changes that maybe need to be created or implemented in order to bring more of that forward. Okay? Maybe that doesn't resonate with everyone, but I feel like it's bringing down, if you will, into your being that more spiritual or cosmic wisdom and connection. We have here Lemuria, creating heaven on earth. It's happening. So, Virgo, I'm a firm believer in the kingdom of heaven is within you. And so this card coming up with what wants to be created through you or for you, creating heaven on earth, that speaks volumes, right? Because it does say that what wants to be created for you is that sense of, let's say, safety, security. How do I say? Yeah, it's that energy of feeling good in your own skin, right? Feeling good in your own being, and not just on a like every once in a while kind of um, time frame, right? Or if you will, it's like actually creating this so it's something a little bit more consistent. That's not to say that there won't be periods where there's challenge and struggle and things like this. But I feel like it's wanting to create that within you, right? Wanting to bring this forward. And um, based on what I've learned through Rudolf Steiner's work and Gigi Young's work, Lumeria, that epoch was a matriarch, which for me speaks to that divine feminine or natural feminine energy, which is more feeling, right? It's less thinking, less analytical, less sciency or literal, and more, okay, let me back up, and less assertive and expressive, and is more about the heart, more about gentleness and spirituality and allowing. It's more internal versus external, right? More feeling and more process oriented over outcome oriented. Okay, so I feel like this is what wants to be created, right? Is more of that, or even, you know, nurtured, is more of that feminine aspect. And it doesn't matter if you are of the male or female gender, we carry these traits within us. We carry these energies within us, regardless of what gender we are, right? And the goal is to have them be in a more balanced state. So I feel as though, you know, again, this is what wants to be created through you, is bringing more of that feminine energy in. We do have the Three of Wands here, which is funny because it is a card of like foresight, right? It speaks to intuition, which is interesting to me, right? I feel like there's this need to expand more on that, to expand that heart space more, to delve into, you know, the more kind of spiritual or intuitive aspects of yourself, right? I'm getting fear. I feel like, so it's interesting because I'm getting this fear, but it like doesn't want to come out, because I feel like for some of you, it's almost like there's a fear around these more spiritual aspects because they're not tangible. They're not things that you can touch or, you know, say, this is what I've produced. This is what I've, you know, like a physical something. I feel like there's a fear around that for some of you. It almost feels as though there's always this energy of like, for some of you, looking ahead, like always, like how do I say, not being very in your body. Does that make sense? Like it feels like being very out of body. And this might come through as like an anxious kind of energy, right? Where let's say you have a to-do list and it's got like do the dishes, do the laundry, clean the car. Okay, just as an example. And while you're doing the dishes, you're thinking about cleaning the car, or you're thinking about what you have to do tomorrow, or a week from now, or a month from now, or what you need to accomplish by the end of the year, right? There's this energy of not being in present in my body with where I'm at. That's what it feels like. It's like I'm looking ahead. So it's interesting energies that are coming through. Of course, like I said, and have, you know, said several times, please only take what resonates. And if it doesn't, just leave it where it is, okay? But I feel like what wants to, again, be created here for you is bringing through more of that spiritual aspect of yourself, and growing or expanding in that way. Cool. We do have the Tower here in the reverse. So what's interesting about this is so there are a couple of sides to this Tower card being in reverse. Okay. It can be an energy of freedom in some sense. Um, well, how do I say this? I feel like there's something here about freeing yourself, okay, from the fears of, I know this is going to sound really strange, but like almost like impending doom. I don't know why it's coming through that way. That is not a phrase that I would use often. Um, but it is coming through as almost like freedom from some kind of impending doom. Maybe you're somebody who works really hard because there's this fear of failure, or there's this fear of um like not having it together. Okay, this is really odd to come through this way. um but when we look at the Tower, typically it is more this energy of like a fear of suffering, a putting off even necessary pain, right? um like avoid how do I say, delaying disaster, right? So I feel like, again, there's whatever this is. I feel like for some of you, for whatever reason, I feel like um and I feel like the adjustment that needs to be made is for some where that kind of putting off necessary pain energy comes in, right? Because for some of you, I feel like there's an awareness of how much work it would take, or there's this fear of what happens if I step back from this, or um, if, for example, you're somebody who is very like success driven, let's say, there's almost this fear of like, if I stop doing what I'm doing, everything's going to fall apart. But the thing about the Tower is that things fall apart to create foundational shifts within you, right? Certainly this does flow over or out into your physical world, because whatever seems to be falling apart out here is meant to encourage that shift within, okay, to create a transformation. So I hope this is making sense. And it follows, interestingly enough, the Devil card. Okay, the Devil is number 15. This is number 16. And the Devil speaks to those lower egoic drives like materialism, like addiction, okay? Being more driven by those sorts of things. And so how it works is, so essentially the major arcana, right, is this journey that we take as individuals. And the Devil coming before the Tower is essentially, you've been shown these things that are maybe more egoically led. And like I said, those lower drives, so things like materialism and addiction tend to tend to um, stem from those lower egoic drives, which are often connected to, let's say, our healing, or our wounding, our trauma, our programming, our belief systems, and require healing. So when we don't acknowledge those things, the Tower comes in to shake things up so that we look at them, so that we address them. Certainly, though, it is a choice. Okay, so you can choose to avoid those things, but again, that Tower comes in to shake things up and to destroy illusions, to challenge outdated beliefs, to create breakthroughs. And I feel that this is why it's showing up here, because that's what wants to be created, right? That breakthrough to get off of that treadmill or out of that cycle, whatever that may be for you. I hope this is making sense. Yeah, interesting. You have Heart of Source here, all-encompassing love, unconditional acceptance, and serenity. So there are now 2 cards that have come out that are connected to the heart. Okay. And so I do feel like a lot of what wants to be created here for you does stem from that place. And I think it's important to acknowledge that that is where, like, the Christ fire, if you will, dwells. Right? So when I think spirituality, and I'm not speaking to this from a dogmatic religious place, but deeper than that. Okay? Much deeper than that. More like esoteric Christianity. Okay? Because Christ is that purifying force. Christ is, you see like the Sacred Heart where it's on fire because it's burning away the impurities or the lower egoic drives to bring us higher, right? To bring us closer to God, source, universe, whatever you call it. And here you have Heart of Source. So again, I feel like this is what wants to be created for you, is to kind of shake free a bit, if you will, from that lower self, okay, the lower egoic drives, and to bring you higher, to strengthen to create and strengthen or nurture that connection with Source or God. Wow. That's pretty intense. I feel called to read from the guidebook for you for this card. And I actually opened up exactly to the page. So here we go. I am going to read the description of this card and the message both. I feel like they're both important, especially for the message that you've been getting thus far. So it does say here, the source of the universe is a gigantic heart. Its beats are angels and beings of light. It is what many call God. It's love that is beyond gender and dogma. It's the infinite experiencing infinity. It's all that is, was, and will ever be. It's love being love and expressing love. It's an energy that can be explained but never fully comprehended. It's where we have all come from and will all return. The strangest part of all is that we've never left. Even though we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and many feel that Source is separate from us, the truth is that we're always connected, even when we feel we're not. This gateway takes us not upward, but inward. It's the gateway that reminds us that through the stargate of our heart, we are connected to the heart of creation. Not only that, but we exist and express ourselves within that heart. Even though we may be on planet Earth and experiencing Earth as a planet within the Milky Way, all of this and more is actually being expressed by the Heart of Source. The vastness of this divine love is inexplainable, but it's who we are. You are connecting directly with the Heart of Source, the creator of life and love. You are blessed to receive this card, for it shows the cup of your heart is being filled with love until it overflows. The divine energy that is with you now is helping you melt away any blockages so that you can be open to the love, acceptance, and appreciation you deserve. You are being encouraged to view yourself in a loving way and give yourself permission to be loved. If you have been holding back for a while but are now ready to share the love you have within, this card lets you know it is safe to do so. You are loved, loving, and lovable. Step forward, claim your worth, and enjoy a new level of spiritual openness. You are truly blessed. Yeah, so again, it really speaks to what I was saying, right? About that cultivating that love of self, right? Cultivating that love within you. Um, that hole that I was speaking to, right? Not about feeling it from somewhere outside of self, but inwardly through that connection with God. I hope this makes sense, you guys. What challenges might this present, Virgo? Yeah. Council of Light, divine orchestration, helpers in the subtle realms. The challenges, again, that this may present, as I've been speaking to, is just being in that more spiritual aspect of self, right? Creating that strong connection with that which you cannot see, right? I mean, we were just speaking about that Christ solar force, or that Christ fire, and here is Christ on the card here, right? And we're talking about this divine orchestration and these helpers in the subtle realms. And again, I feel like the challenges are getting out of that very kind of practical, earthly way of thinking, way of being, and opening up to something that may seem completely foreign, right? It may be, it may feel very difficult to relate to, right? Because it may seem very like woo woo or out there, or, I don't know. I feel like for some of you, there may be some programming around spirituality. Maybe you're somebody who hears the word occult and thinks Satan, which is certainly not the case. That's not to say that there aren't those who utilize occult practices for nefarious purposes. You know what I'm saying? But that's not all that it is about. So I feel, the challenges are connecting to this, opening yourself up to it, believing that there is something bigger than yourself, that there is something that you cannot see, like forces that are working behind the scenes, that you do have a connection to, that you can tap into, that you can tap into, that do communicate. Okay, I just feel like for some of you, this concept is like super out there, right? And again, it may create some intense feelings of discomfort, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. Discomfort doesn't mean wrong, right? I do feel that there's something here as well about how do I say, essentially like overcoming the fear of not being able to explain what you might experience, right? Like bringing this wisdom, this light down through you, right? And even if you look here, here's what's really interesting to me. If you notice on the Age of Light card, there is, light coming down through the top of the head here. And, light for me represents wisdom, love, knowledge, truth, these sorts of things. And here, if you look at the Council of Light, it's that almost as if they connect, right? That information being brought down through. So I feel like this is part of the challenge for you as well, is to allow that connection to be what it is without having to explain it, without having some kind of tangible something, right? To open yourself up to it. And maybe that does stem from some kind of programming or wounding around, more dogmatic religious practices, or entities, right? What is the word? Institutions. Okay, so yeah, I feel like opening yourself up to things like your intuition, like spiritual beings, being able to communicate, right? Not being separate from God. I feel like these are concepts that may be very challenging for you to grasp. Again, if this is for you, and opening your heart to those, I feel like could also be quite a challenge. Yeah, again, I mean, really, This is very much about doing things differently. Okay? Doing things differently. Changing your tactics, changing your strategies, rethinking your approach to things. There is an energy here with the Seven of Swords in reverse about like coming clean. Um, I don't know why I'm getting this, but I feel like some of you may struggle with like talking to God or praying, things like this. Um, to me, for some of you, it feels as though it's like that doesn't make sense. You know, praying to some God in the sky who, again, there's this dogmatic kind of thread that I'm getting, you know, who is going to punish me because I'm not doing everything it wants. I feel like it just seems kind of far fetched, right? I feel like it doesn't make sense, but I do feel like this is about you looking at things from a different perspective. And again, I feel like that's the challenge. I mean, you now have two swords energies out here, which is very much about the mind, about, you know, your perspectives and logic. And I feel like what's being asked of you here is to step outside what is logical or what is literal or what is easily explainable, and that being the challenge. Sevens can be about having faith as well as reflection, introspection, um, these sorts of things, reevaluation. And I also feel like that presents a challenge as well, right? Really diving in, really opening up to yourself. Again, kind of opening up to, let's say, God or, you know, whatever resonates with you, and having this kind of open relationship. I feel like having faith that there is something bigger, that there is something listening. You know, I feel like that is, again, part of the challenge. We have karmic board clearing, energetic clearing, rewrite your story, live your truth. And I do feel that for some, this isn't going to resonate with everyone. I already know that. But for some, I feel as though this does have something to do with some kind of programming or wounding or trauma or something, some kind of belief system around spirituality, religion, and the unexplainable. Okay. And I feel like this is again, this is where the challenges come, because it's clearing that out, right? Allowing your story to be rewritten, pardon me, where you take on new perspectives, where you take on new belief systems, where you know, essentially have experienced something completely different, which thereby rewrites your story. But again, stepping out of that, I feel like is probably going to be quite the challenge. And it's interesting because this live your truth aspect really, how do I say this? When we are most living in our truth, we are deeply connected to our soul. We're deeply connected to our heart space. We're deeply connected to source and God. That is where our truth lies. And so living your truth isn't so much about, you know, wearing, though it does play a part, wearing the clothes you want to wear and, you know, speaking your mind very bluntly and things like this. Pardon me. Um, Living your truth is also about connecting to your deeper self, your soul's true essence. And so I just want to pause for a moment, because when I'm in readings and I sneeze, so I get things in many different ways. Sometimes I'll hear certain things, I'll see things, I will get like words, pictures, sounds, and then there are times that the energy manifests within my body physically. And when I sneeze, that tells me something about something wanting to be released. And like it taking, I don't want to say force, but similar to that, right? Because the sneeze comes like, you know, it's coming. And, we kind of have to close our eyes to it, right? So I feel like that's speaking to the, how do I say, almost like the challenge that there is to release these things. Like, you have to make that choice, right? It's not just gonna go away on its own. Like, it wants to come out, right? And you have to kind of let it, right? Because like holding in a sneeze can hurt. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that, but so like avoiding what is inevitable, like what needs to happen, can sometimes be painful. So I feel like it's speaking to that. Not only that, but again, like I was saying, you have to close your eyes, or we tend to close our eyes. I don't know anybody who's sneezed with their eyes open. um, and so it's speaking to, instead of seeing the things, it's feeling them. When we close our eyes, it's about feeling things. I hope that makes sense. But I do feel, this is where the challenge comes, is letting these things go, letting these old belief systems, that are outdated, letting these foundational shifts take place, letting go of these old belief systems, rewriting your story and really sinking into the truth of your being, which is you are both physical and spiritual. The advice that is going to best support and serve you moving forward is don't dim to fit in. How are you dimming your light in order to fit in? And in some cases, I feel as though this is speaking to that almost, I don't want to say that you're like conforming, okay, necessarily, but I do feel like there's some aspect of programming, right? So something like that might be, we're supposed to go to grade school and then go to college or get a job, get married, buy a house, have kids. Like, that might be a kind of programming. Or another form of programming, which I feel like relates to this reading, is that, you have to have some kind of status to be worthy or valuable or appreciated, right? You have to put in you have to produce some kind of something in order to be valuable. Okay. And I feel like this is what that may be speaking to, is dimming your light by not being connected to it. I hope this is making sense. And I feel like it's very interesting to me that she has her eyes covered, and we were just speaking about this. And essentially what's being shown here is more of that third eye, or that unseen eye, if you will, and the light that comes through there, in forms of knowledge, love, wisdom, truth. So, I feel like the advice for you is to not dim that light, to not hide from it. Like, it's part of who you are, right? And so, like I said, you may be somebody who feels like spiritual concepts are out there. Maybe you've been somebody who's been more comfortable, let's say, with those dogmatic religious practices, like going to church or what have you, but maybe haven't been comfortable with the deeper aspect of that, like really connecting with your soul and God within you, right? The kingdom of heaven within you. And I feel like, that could be dimming your light, or that's how this is coming through, right? The advice is to not hide from that, to not smother it out, to get more comfortable with your soul self, or the light side of yourself, right? The less physical side of yourself. Do you have another 7 for you? We do have the 7 of Cups here as well. And I feel like with this energy, I mean, certainly the Cups is, well, the 7 of Cups is this energy of like having a lot of options. For example, there's many paths of spirituality to choose from. There are many paths that can be chosen to illuminate the light within oneself. So, there are choices to be made here. There are options that are available to you. Um, but I feel, here's the thing. The thing about the Seven of Cups is it's more about following intuition, right? Because if you use pure, let's say, logic, or you choose what's practical, it might be the cup that houses, let's say, a snake or a dragon, or there's even what appears to be like a skull on this cup over here. So, you could be choosing essentially a cup that actually isn't holding something that is best for you, right? So, there's that aspect. There's also an aspect here of searching for purpose, right? So, I feel like for some of you, you may have followed paths that maybe aren't so connected to who you are truly at your soul level, but have aligned with them out of convenience, out of the means to, provide for yourself, financially, materially, these sorts of things that will create more security and comfort. Um, Things that have seemed like logical, let's say. But again, I feel like this is more about the purpose that calls to you from within. I feel like that's part of the light as well, right? Is that there's something that may be bigger for you, something that may be more suited, if you will, that's going to bring maybe more fulfillment, right? And you could be aligning with that. But again, I feel like this is about getting in touch with your inner self, with your intuition. I feel like this is the advice that's going to best support and serve you, because there's a multitude of ways or paths that you can choose. But that doesn't mean that every one of them is what's best for you, right? And I feel like one of the ways that we can discover what our true purpose is, and what is going to bring us the most fulfillment, is by tuning into our intuition, tuning into our soul self, and choosing accordingly, right? What is going to bring that light out of me? What is going to overflow my heart, fill my cup? Okay. Again, the 7 is about faith. It is about going inward, right? I don't know. I also feel like whatever this is, so like I was speaking to earlier, like trying to fill some kind of void, right? With something outside of yourself, whatever that is. Maybe it's addiction of some kind, maybe it's, obsession with work, or, being kind of like a workaholic, or wanting to, having these ambitions to reach a certain point. I feel as though it's like wishful thinking, because it's never going to be enough. Okay, that's how this is coming through. It's never going to be enough. It doesn't matter what status of success you reach, if you haven't filled that within you first, you're not going to find it outside of yourself, no matter where you look for it, no matter what cup you pick up, right? Or if you are somebody who maybe has struggled with addictive tendencies, whether that be people, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, you're not going to find it's wishful thinking to believe that you can fill that in that way, right? So again, please only take what resonates with you. um we also have the Magician here, which is I, which is really quite fascinating, because this is again that energy of having everything you need within you, activating that magic within you, right? By focusing your energy, your willpower, your desire, and your actions to shape your reality versus your reality shaping you, right? The external world shaping you. Does that make sense? It's all four. So activating the magic would be of like all four of the elements as far as tarot is concerned, right? And spirituality, fire, air, earth, water. You know, these are things like passion. So for fire, for example, it's what inspires you, what drives you, what are you passionate about? That water energy is more about what you feel, your emotions, your intuition, and that connection to spirituality, to that which you cannot see, right? It is essentially this conscious awareness of these things and the ability to utilize them to shape your reality. Of course, we've been talking a lot about that swords energy and the earth energy, right? Swords being like logic, um, awareness, perception, or perspective, right? It's also about truth. It can be a card of conflict as well, obviously, with swords, right? And, you know, your intellect, looking at things from a logical perspective. Uh, Earth energy or pentacle energy can be, you know, the more physical, the more material, having stability, you know, being practical. And it's utilizing all of these characteristics within yourself to create or shape your world, right? Really tapping into the power that you have to, again, manifest or create your reality. Okay, it's like mastery over yourself, mastery over what is available to you. You know, so I feel like the advice here is to bring in all of these aspects of yourself and to shine with those, using those, connecting deeply with those aspects, right? Because it's not just about the physical, it's not just about the mental, it's not just about our emotions and feelings or intuition, it's not just about that fire that we have in our belly, it's about all of these things coming together. We also have here for you Akashic Stargate, aligned with purpose, crossroads, no wrong path. And it's quite fascinating because, again, we were talking about this Seven of Cups here, where there's that kind of search for purpose or maybe even deeper meaning, and being essentially at this crossroads where, you know, I mean, here's the thing, Virgo, you can keep doing the things the way that you've been doing them. You can. You have that ability. I mean, that is what free will guarantees. Not God, not Christ, not the angels, not any spiritual being or ascended master is going to force you into anything. That's not where we are in our stage of development as a collective, as human beings having a spiritual experience, or pardon me, spiritual beings having a human experience. That's not where we are, you know. So you can keep doing what you've been doing, you know, but I feel like that, how do I say, um I feel as though, you know, choosing the same path is essentially going to produce the same results. And again, if you're somebody who has been striving to, let's say, reach the top of the corporate ladder, or, you know, the something like that, right? The career ladder, and seeking fulfillment there, or, you know, some kind of recognition there, you know, seeking that approval or validation in that space, but coming up short every time and just constantly. And here's the thing, I want to be very clear, it's not bad to have goals, okay? But when you're trying to fill something within yourself with an external goal, there's always going to be another goal, because reaching that goal is not enough. Okay, there's always going to be something else. And that, again, it's not to say that we shouldn't have goals, okay? There's lots of things that we can be doing to set goals around. But I just mean from this perspective of trying to fill some kind of void. It's always going to be, I've got to do better, right? It's always going to be trying to fill that, and getting to that goal is not filling it. It's not enough, right? So I feel like, I hope that makes sense. I feel as though, the advice here is trying to align you with a deeper purpose, a deeper meaning. And depending on which path you take is going to determine how in alignment you are with that or not. Okay? I'm drawn to the fact that, which is interesting to me because it's not necessarily something that I've picked up too frequently with this card, if at all. These are actually doorways here, but I'm seeing them as mirrors because I feel as though in order to truly align with purpose, there's this need to essentially, look in the mirror. There's a need to really kind of get truthful about what is seen there. Again, you guys, don't shoot the messenger. I just say it how it feels, and what I get coming through. But there's this need to look at self. Is whatever you're doing really making you happy, right? Or does it have this kind of hold over you where, it never seems to be enough? And certainly, if you're somebody who's experienced things like addiction, for example, it isn't enough. It's never enough, right? Or if you're, have this obsession with work or climbing a ladder of some kind or reaching some kind of a success, it always feels like it's never enough because there's always somebody who's doing better, right? There's always somebody who's making more money or driving better cars or living in a better house or whatever, right? Again, that doesn't have to be the scenario. These are just things that I've been picking up coming through, but it's never enough. So I feel like it's gonna take this, kind of this look in the mirror, right? And essentially coming clean with yourself about, is this actually working? Is this actually bringing me fulfillment? Do I feel like I'm aligned with purpose? Do I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this bringing me inner peace, fulfillment, right? Or not? And if the answer is the latter, then it may be time to, again, kind of rethink your approach to figure out what that is for you. And I feel like the only way that that can be accomplished, if that's true for you, is by connecting deeply within yourself, right? Really tapping into your soul's true essence, because, I mean, there are a multitude of things that any one of us can be doing that can, let's say, sustain us, maybe provide us with creature comforts, but that doesn't mean that it's fulfilling. That doesn't mean that I feel like I'm living in my purpose. That doesn't mean that I feel as though, like I'm deeply satisfied with what I'm doing. And that's not to say that you may not enjoy. For example, if you're somebody who's climbing that, career ladder, I'm not saying that maybe you don't enjoy the job that you're doing to some degree or another, but is it bringing you fulfillment, right? Is it filling you up? You know what I'm saying? Do you feel that joy and satisfaction in every fiber of your being? Does it light you up? Do you jump out of bed in the morning like, this is what I get to do? Not, oh, I have to go to work. Not, oh, this is so hard. Not, oh, I don't want to go. Or, hitting snooze on your alarm. Or, is it this, to some degree, a burden, right? Do you look forward to it? Again, are you passionate about it? So I feel like these could be questions, if this is for you, that maybe need to be asked. And, I feel like this could be the advice that is best for you moving forward. Because the whole goal here, Virgo, this universal one energy, essentially asks us to utilize the opportunity, right? To consciously step into our personal power, to take up challenges with faith and trust in ourselves, and to plant seeds that we will eventually harvest as we move forward. And so the whole purpose of these readings is like, what seeds are we planting right now? And what do we not want to plant? How can we essentially like get our ducks in a row? How can we tie up loose ends so that whatever we're planting, and as we move forward, we'll eventually harvest, is what we actually want to be manifesting, right? And what we actually, for many of us, want to be bringing into our reality, or want to be experiencing at the very least in our reality, is that inner peace, that inner and outer, or let me rephrase, that inner peace, that inner and outer fulfillment, right? Inner and outer peace, harmony, love, right? Fulfillment, these are the things. We don't, I feel like many of us are kind of over feeling like it's never enough, right? That we are never enough, or that, feeling dissatisfied, that lack of true joy and true satisfaction. I feel like this is where many people are. And I feel this energy this month in all of the tarot scopes is really trying to put us in a position where we can move forward differently, where we are aligning with things that do feel more fulfilling, that do bring us peace and true joy, true satisfaction, true fulfillment, that we really love to the core of our being. And that may not seem practical, that may not seem logical, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. So, Virgo, again, please only take what resonates with you. This is what I have for you for December 2023. I pray that something here has resonated for you, been valuable or helpful for you in some way, shape, or form as you navigate the energies of this month and beyond. I pray that you are able to plant seeds that are meaningful and purposeful for you, that do provide you some sense of fulfillment and peace and joy and love within yourself. I pray that you are able to open your heart and to connect more deeply with the more spiritual aspects of yourself, with God, with Christ, and open yourself up to having that experience of being supported by something much larger than yourself, guided by something much larger than yourself, because it really truly does bring some sense of liberation. And I know that may sound odd, it may sound silly, but it truly does, because you're not looking at something from, this very dense way of being. This, you're able to kind of rise above everything that's put before you. And so it does create some sense of liberation and freedom, which is a nice change, let's say. Thank you so much for being here. I truly do appreciate you. If there has been something here that has resonated for you in some way, shape, or form, please do the YouTube things by liking, sharing, commenting below, or subscribing. It tells YouTube that there may be something valuable here for someone else, which can bring that individual here. And I greatly appreciate that. It also helps me as well. It brings confirmation for me and helps me to grow as an intuitive and as a reader. So again, I greatly appreciate that. Take care of your worthy, lovable, loving, evolving, growing, courageous, and spiritual soul. Peace be with you and within you, and I hope to see you in another video. Bye.